Welcome, everyone, to this completely unnecessary podcast for Tuesday, August 13th, 2019. I'm Pat Contry. Ian is on vacation right now, so this will be a semi-solo edition of your semi-favorite, semi-beloved podcast covering pop culture, gaming news, movie news, what have you. Today on the show, we'll be discussing, mostly me, but Ian will be in some segments. We'll be discussing Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony having new loot box policies. We'll be talking about DuckTales Remastered no longer being for sale digitally. An NWC cart traded into Pink Gorilla video game store. Splatterhouse and other games added to the TurboGrafx Classic. And more topics. So, like I said, Ian's on vacation. He took a trip right after our appearance this past weekend at Long Island Retro Gaming Expo. And this is my first time being on Long Island. And it's always interesting when you look at the geography. Like Long Island is on the Long Island that you see on the map, right east of Manhattan. But it starts with, like Brooklyn, right, on the shore. And that's where Coney Island is. The Warriors, that's where they hung out. And then it goes east. You go to Queens, where my Mets play. And then, there's a demarcation line, I guess, after Queens, where that's, Long Island, I guess, because that's not one of the boroughs anymore. That's Nassau County. So I guess that's what you mean. When you say Long Island, you're really saying Nassau County. Because you could be on the island that may be long, but that could still be technically New York City. So I was in Long Island for probably the first time. I don't have any relatives in Long Island. No reason to go to Long Island. Mets games, I guess it's almost Long Island, but it's not. That's still part of the boroughs there, New York boroughs. So we had a great time. It was at this the Cradle of Aviation Museum. So a picture of gaming convention with huge, old U.S. Fighter jets and things hanging above you, like not models, like real planes hanging above you, and 3-tiered event. 3 stories, lots of natural lighting coming in. Great setup. They had a great console museum. On the 3rd floor was a PC museum. You could play everything. Good arcade. And, of course, the vendor hall there. Me and Ian were hanging out, and, Ian selling his little purple pixel-sicle keychain stuff, selling a certain NES guidebook. And then I was right next to the best vendor I could possibly be next to. I was next to a nice vendor, nice guy. We talked a lot. We debated a bit. A vendor selling exclusively graded, sealed Wata games, and we'll come back to that a little bit later on. But one of the main things, one of my main goals going to Long Island was I needed to get a slice. I needed to get a real slice of pizza, and I wrote about this on my Patreon about there is a significant difference between pizza from, if you want to say the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey pizza versus pizza almost anywhere else. It's a significant difference. And as soon as I bit into that slice, it was 10 p.m. Friday night. It was delicious. And why is there a difference between how they taste? Well, there's a couple of theories, but there's only 2 I think that hold any water. And it's the fact that the water is different. And due to the different minerals and chemical makeup of the water, it creates a different tasting dough. And I could say for a fact that's true. And even when I came back home, I had pizza in the fridge that I had ordered a couple days before I went on the trip. And yeah, I'm like, this is not the pizza dough that I just had. The dough not just tastes different, it has a different consistency, and it just has a different texture to it as well. So that's the one thing. But the other thing are the ingredients. And they're sourced differently. So the traditional, Italian pizzerias in New York, New Jersey, they're usually, probably not always, but the better pizzerias they're importing their ingredients, their cheeses, their mozzarella. My grandpa would slap me for saying like that. It's mozzarella. What's this mozzarella thing? The mozzarella cheese and the tomato sauce. They're entirely different than what you would taste on the West Coast. Entirely different. And that's not to say that there's not good pizza anywhere else. There is good pizza. It's just not the same pizza. It just tastes demonstrably different. It just does. And people out there that are like shaking their heads no, that's because you've never had pizza from New York, New Jersey. And to compare it, if you have, you know why pizzerias are so much more abundant in New York and New Jersey than they are probably per capita anywhere else. Like on the planet, probably, because it just tastes that much better. Like I order pizza, maybe I order pizza 1 to 2 times a month, or have pizza one to two times a month out here in San Diego. If I was back home, it'd still be every week, easily. I'd be grabbing a slice every other day, potentially, because it just tastes that much better, everything there. So that was a fun time. So why were we eating pizza like 10 o'clock at night on Ian's birthday on Friday? It's because our flight was canceled. We had the red eye Thursday night. They canceled the flight because apparently there was a fuel spill right by our plane. So we first thought it was that they couldn't refill the plane properly. You know how they lock those big hoses on? And then we found out later that allegedly the fuel truck ran into the plane somehow and spilled fuel. Not good either way. And so at first they were trying to clean it up, but then they're like, oh, no, this is highly toxic stuff. This isn't regular normal gasoline, which you don't want to sniff that. You get sick. This is like highly toxic jet fuel. So we came back the next morning. People were upset, but hey, safety, right? But then we get there the next morning. At first, I delayed the flight from 8 to 10, which is great. Get to sleep in a couple extra hours. But then they kept pushing it back. They're like, no, it's 10:30 now, but now it's 11. So they come on. The agent at the gate comes on and says, we suggest everyone out there that you book different flights. And we can assist you, but we think you should just book different flights at this point to get to JFK Airport, Kennedy Airport. And I've never heard a message like that. Usually it's like, yeah, we'll help you, or we push the flight back a couple of hours, or I've never heard them straight up say, book your own flights, and then worry about, I guess, getting a refund later. So everyone's like, what the hell's going on? And keep in mind, this is like almost 11 o'clock in the morning, and you can't just book another flight to New York that easily. So I started scrambling and looking for flights. And of course, you'd have probably better luck flying an indirect flight. But being that you lose 3 hours and the flight time itself on a direct flight's over 5 hours, you'd be talking at 10, 12 hours of overall losing time. So if we left around noon or 1, we wouldn't get there till past midnight potentially, or might have to do an overnight and get there, Saturday morning. And that'd be disastrous getting there right when the event started, because we have to set up, we have books there, and we'd be a wreck. We wouldn't be able to do our panel on Saturday. So I start looking for flights, and I find a JetBlue flight that left in like literally 2 hours from when I was looking. And you got to book it, I think, 90 minutes before for it to be valid, and then to check in and tell them to get your luggage the hell off that plane and transfer it. So it'd be a big ordeal. And they wouldn't. And if I booked that JetBlue flight, this was Delta, by the way, they said we don't have an agreement with them to like refund your money. So I'd be out of pocket $500 just for me, not including Vonnie and Ian, who had to get there. And that was just $500 for a one-way, and I can't cancel the flight to get the money back entirely because I have to get back on the second leg of the Delta trip on Sunday. So I was looking at $500 out of my pocket. I called the organizers at Long Island Retro Gaming Expo, and they were like, yeah, well, we'll talk about, reimbursing you. Very nice about that. But like, that's catastrophic. No one wants to drop $1,500 extra to get 3 people to an event where it's like, Delta, what the hell are you doing? So it went from disaster to within like 20 minutes, 25 minutes of scrambling. Then all of a sudden, this guy comes out in like the orange vest. I think he's part of the maintenance crew. He was like more reassuring. He's like, all right, we have our work orders. He was like almost like a military guy. We have our work orders. We know what we're going to do. We're hoping to get you on the plane. But then like 5 minutes after that, the agent's like, book your own flights again. So Delta, you gave me mixed messages there, buddy. If I can call you buddy, Delta. The maintenance guy's saying it's ready to go. The agent's like, book your own flights because this isn't going to leave, in essence. And so it ends up where the maintenance guy comes back on and says, we're going to hope to have you on the plane in like 20 minutes, start boarding. We're like, what? It was like a whirlwind of emotions. And people had already rebooked it and left. So we get on the plane finally, only like about, I think it was like 11:30, 11:45 we get on the plane, something like that, because we left around noon. The plane was now like partially empty. It went from being like a full flight to like being 2/3 full. So people were being like pushed up to like the first class, because it was weird. It was a weird experience, but we got there. We had a great time. I didn't spend a huge amount of money there. I bought a Bishu joystick at the event, and I bought a couple other little things there, a couple of handhelds. I bought like the Konami Top Gun handheld, for example. But yeah, had a lot of fun there. So Ian will not be on this podcast, but only in limited form, because we did the panel there on Saturday, and we did about 5 topics. A lot of things happened the past like 2-3 days before Saturday, which was great, because now I don't have to work as hard by myself. Like, I haven't done a solo podcast like this, I think, since Ian was sick, and that was, let's see, after the book came out. So that was like late 2016 to, I want to say, April, May 2017. So it's been a little over 2 years. It's been a while. Been like 2 years, like 3 months since I've done a solo podcast. I believe. Well, solo CU podcast, not so common there. So, and other quick news that I don't want to do a full topic on, but I have to talk about it because it's insane and it's in the news. Walmart reportedly responded to the horrific shootings in one in their store. And they arrested one other guy even recently that made a joke online about, I'm going to be at a jail soon, getting my guns and going and taking a trip to Walmart. So now this is like really weird territory we're in. Walmart reportedly removing violent game ads, but they're still selling their guns. So the response, you can't make it up. It's the Onion at this point. There's no evidence that video games cause violence. We know that. The same way there's no evidence comic books in the 50s caused violence, or violent music, rap music in the 80s, or Dungeons and Dragons, or heavy metal music. It's a scapegoat. We know that. If you deny that at all, I don't know. We're not even operating on the same plane of reality anymore. So that's the response reportedly. The report came from Vice originally, that Walmart employees received memos from corporate headquarters asking for the immediate removal of signing and displays for video games referencing violence. A picture of the alleged memo was shared on Twitter, telling employees to remove from your store any signing or displays that contain violent images or aggressive behavior. Remove from the sales floor. Turn off these items immediately. So I guess any display you might have had of like a first-person shooter like Call of Duty or Black Ops, I guess. Any game like that. Does Fortnite count? Is that violent? I guess because there's guns. So the memo included turning off or unplugging video game display units with demos of violent games, specifically PlayStation and Xbox units, in quotes, and to cancel any events promoting combat style or third-person shooter games that may be scheduled in electronics. Third-person shooter games, I guess Fortnite. This also extends to the hunting season videos in the sporting goods section. You know what they sell in the sporting goods section? The guns. They sell in the sporting goods section. Not just hockey sticks and fishing rods, it's guns. So you'll have your shotgun, your rifle there, and then right next to that you'll have the turn off that hunting display, shooting those ducks. We don't want that, but hey, sir, here's your 22, and here's your shotgun shells that you wanted here. All right, okay. I'm not sure what point Walmart's trying to make, calm people down. I have no clue here, but this is insane. We have slid past the mouth of madness. We are now probably currently in the esophagus of madness, and soon to hit the stomach in 2019. This is almost an upside down world we are in when it comes to discussing things of this nature. When it comes to gun violence or protecting our democracy, the realities, we have people operating in different realities. That's the one thing I could say. It's not even political disagreements anymore. It's agreements on what is reality and what is actually objectively occurring in the world. And meanwhile, we had our fine president announce rolling back enforcement of the Endangered Species Act from the early 70s. To probably let probably mining and drilling on endangered species lands of animals in national parks and reserves. And at this point, you can't even try to disguise it to be anything for what it is. yeah, there's a lot of things not to be happy about, and yeah, I like those critters. I don't want those critters. You know what critter wouldn't be around if we didn't have the Endangered Species Act? That good old bald eagle, the symbol of American freedom, was on the brink of extinction at one point. And that was one of the reasons why, they wanted to get this Endangered Species Act going, because there wasn't anything federally mandated in order to really protect these animals from being gone. And the statistic I saw was 99% of the endangered species in the U.S. have been saved. That's a damn good. Not 100%. That's still tragic for that 1% of animals, but 99% is pretty damn good. And something like the Endangered Species Act helps to maintain that very high, level of effectiveness of keeping species alive. I'm not sure how I could make that sound any more important than it is. Keeping animal species in existence. Sorry, that has nothing to do with video games. At least the Walmart topic does. But now it's a semi not so common podcast here. So I can't wait to be a billionaire so I can throw all the money at protecting species as I can, and making sure that these cute critters, don't end up only in zoos where you can view them. But it's because we're living in a reality where potentially in 10, 15, 20, 30 years with ass backwards things like this happening, and with climate change, that a lot of animals you'll only be able to see they'll only exist in zoos. Some of these species, they won't be in the wild anymore, which is why you need zoos, just in case. Just in case that happens. Plus, they do a lot of research. Go watch that. There's on Animal Planet. There's a new series about the San Diego Zoo and the great work that they're doing there. So, right, we're going to do an Ian-less podcast, but he's not really not here. Mario's not really filling in here. But we're going to do our first topic